our chairman of this particular session, Dr. M.L. Jat, the president of Indian Academy of Horticulture Sciences, Dr. S.K. Singh, Honorable Vice Chancellor of this university, hosting this, Dr. Sureshan, and many colleagues and distinguished guests on the dais, off the dais, delegates, ladies, representative of media, and friends. It is indeed a matter of great privilege for me to participate in this horticulture congress and international meet, and that too on a very thematic subject, which I think is relevant in today's context and much in the presidential address Dr. Jat has narrated, so I would not like to repeat. But obviously, it has to be inclusive, it has to be equitable and sustainable in its growth. For the growth of horticulture, we have come much ahead than probably what it was when I started my career in agriculture. And an instance I can cite, when I was young in my village, my grandfather became ill and doctor said, "Inko फल खिलाओ." So my mother said, "Go to Ajmer and buy some fruits." And I was just 12, 13 years old. I went with the bus and went to the main market, and they said, "Fruit यहाँ नहीं मिलेगा. For fruit you have to go in front of the hospital. There are 2-3 shops over there." From there, what we see today is a completely changed scenario. This has not happened without vision and investment, without planning, and without efforts of our farmers. So I would like to congratulate Academy, Dr. Singh, to you for honoring those who have been contributing to this process. So let us give a big hand to that. There are many others which of course will also get honor as we move along. But today, the progress that we have made, even in case of food also we were importing. So we have attained food security to a greater extent. But as has already been highlighted, what we now need is, and which is our biggest challenge as far as Sustainable Development Goals are concerned, the nutritional security, the hidden hunger. And for that, horticulture is a sector which can play tremendous role. Already things are happening. Our food basket is now much wider and different than what it used to be. Earlier, per capita consumption of cereal was to the extent of almost 15 to 16 kg per month, and hardly there was any fruit consumption. Now we see that cereal consumption has declined. It has come down in the last 2 decades from 12 kg to now 9 kg per month, which means people are eating something different. And when you look at the fruit and vegetable use, in the last 2 decades, it has increased from 4 kg to now 9 kg per month, which is a great achievement, I would say. And not only that, it has also surpassed the production compared to the food grain crops. So, cereal production today is 353.96 million tons, and fruit and vegetable production is 367.72 million tons. I would say you all deserve appreciation and congratulations for it. When I asked Dr. Borlaug, what do you think about the cradles of success for green revolution, he said policy support, he said institutions, and also he said human resource. And I said, why it is not happening in Africa? You are now working through Sasagawa for almost 2 decades in Africa, and you same scientists with the same technology. He said, these are lacking over there. I don't have IRA there. I don't have Dr. Swaminathan there. And I don't have progressive farmers who are willing to spend once they are convinced about technology. So, an investment by the government in terms of policy support of infrastructure. So I realized that institutions are very important, and unless we have them, like IRI in all sectors, probably all these accomplishments would have not been possible. And here, therefore, I would like to today, and my purpose of coming to participate in this conference, though Dr. S.K. Singh and Dr. Patel and all their colleagues insisted, but it was mainly for the purpose that my good old friend, colleague, and the architect of Indian horticulture, Dr. K.L. Chadha, is no more. So I must come here and attend this particular congress when he is not there and pay our homage to him. I'm glad his family members are here, Mohit, Dr. M.L. Chadha, and we would like to give great credit to them, but also we should recognize that in literature, when you look at the father of horticulture in India, is a person from Karnataka state.
Very good. Very good, yes.
And his name is M.H. Marigoda.
Very
I
good.
hope you know about it.
Yes, yes.
Those who do not know, Lal Bagh was established by him. Dr. Suresha was just telling me. And the kind of genetic wealth and variability that has been conserved. So, this is, one should try to appreciate and remember. And I'm sure this award in his name would always keep us reminding a prolific writer, Professor Chadha, and I and him we worked for, and we lived also together. Mohit was a young child, may not be knowing that, and his sister, and very persistent, not only prolific writer, but very persistent about horticulture, committed. And I think that is what is needed. Today, when you are holding a position, one is just for ceremonial purpose, and the other one is the commitment that you should have. So he was all the time, and I was already convinced by Borlaug that we should have more institutions if we want to have evolution in horticulture. So we jointly created about 11 new institutions. Out of those 30, 11 were mainly in horticulture. And for the memory, institutional memory, temperate horticulture is also important. So Institute on Temperate Horticulture. Arid region, what you, Dr. ML said, that eco-region is specific and equitable. It can't be unless you have institutions, and these all crops are not grown at one place. So arid horticulture, grapes, Pune, and where we are today, our wines are competing with the best wines abroad. And we are exporting quite a large quantity also of resins. Institute on vegetables, we didn't have. We had for all others. Onion and garlic, today there is flood for onion production. Lychee, this kind of production now we see in the market, I had never seen before. Even orchids, we have the largest, genetic wealth of orchids in the world. But Thailand, where I worked with FAO, I recognize that research and its commercialization makes all the difference, the value chain. So therefore, one point is that one part is the production, but now in horticulture, another important part is post-production. And Dr. S.K. Singh said that the self-life has to be increased, value addition has to be done, we have to reduce post-harvest losses, and again, sky is the limit in terms of those technologies. I won't go into the detail. Pomegranate Institute was established. Dr. Sharad Pawar was very keen. Even for Makhana,
Yes.
Nitish Babuji was very keen. So we started. And I think Prabhat Kumar would vouch that if these institutions would have not been there, and seed spices was the last which we established. So spices are perennial spices, but seed spices are also very specific to a region. And today, if you look at the export from horticulture, which is around only 4 billion out of 55 billion that we have from India, this is an area where we have to lay greater emphasis and capitalize on global market. Being the largest producer of banana, papaya, mango, okra, spices, where spices is giving us reasonably high return in terms of even export, but the sky is the limit. And this is one sector which luckily we have robust internal market. So we are consuming whatever we are producing. Even spices, we are being told like pulses, we are the largest producer, we are largest consumer, and also largest area. So we seem to having opportunities which we need to harness and be very clear as to what we can do. The annual growth rates for the last decade is the highest among the crops for spices at 6.7%, for fruits 3.7%, for vegetables 2.8%, and for cereals 2.4%. So you can see that things are really moving and there is some vibrancy. But as was mentioned, we need to address all those weak links interdisciplinary, interinstitutional, eco-regional planning, and value addition. These offer great opportunities. Well, I always get time to talk when it is almost time to have either tea or lunch. So I won't like to delay much, and much can be said. Someone said golden revolution. But we had coined, Dr. Chadda and Dr. Sri Nitish Kumar and myself, the revolution in horticulture as rainbow revolution. Because all colors are here.
Rainbow Revolution.
It is not only gold. And you have green, you have white, you have blue. Then we said, what should we call revolution in horticulture?
Rainbow Revolution.
And then we said, okay, let us say it as a rainbow revolution. But perhaps we seem to have forgotten because gold is more costlier than any rainbow which you see in the sky. Nevertheless, we are moving ahead, and this is not silent revolution. This is, I think, a revolution which has come through investment. Horticulture mission has played great role. We have to recognize this. If horticulture mission would have not been there, probably technologies that were there with us would have not reached, and private sector has played significant role. And for that we brought in the new seed policy, because when Rajiv Gandhi ji went to Middle East and saw protected cultivation, and all those were vegetables and flowers, and particularly the high yields and the high income in a smaller area to go vertical. He came back and said, why not we have those seeds here? And then it was said that seeds for protected cultivation have to be imported, and they are not with us. So this is a challenge. Still, we are dependent largely on import of the seeds, particularly with regard to protected cultivation. Also, private sector has done well in area of flowers, and we have great potential. We organized a national conference. Prabhat Kumar, you were there, and Dr. S.K. Singh. The recommendations are there, and it seems that is the area which is not yet at all explored. And a mission on floriculture has been initiated by CSIR. Why not ICR? Why not ICR? And we started Institute on Medicinal Plants also. So I would like to say that we have all the strength, and we should try to now sit together and have a clear roadmap for sustainable rainbow revolution. I hope this academy will take the responsibility. Also, we must see that this sector can only, of course, others also, I mean, livestock also provide nutrition and nutrition security, and they are also progressing much faster. But horticulture contributes around 30%, and livestock sector is also contributing about 30% to our national GDP, and from only 18% of area. And when I was chairman of Haryana Farmers Commission, we instituted a team. Dr. Anil Chadda was with me that time, and Dr. KL Chadda was the chairman of that committee, to give a blueprint for horticulture in Haryana. And to our surprise, area was not even 5%. So 18% is probably in the south or maybe more in south, but on average at national level. So we have to also see how and where more area can be increased and where is the potential. And this provides us opportunity for low volume, high value crops from not going horizontal but vertical, and to improve more productivity, to go in for value addition, and to go for export. And export is not everybody's business. Even in case of apple, we are quite ahead, and I thought we were doing so well, but they are all old orchards, and we have not adopted the kind of varieties which you see abroad in the US. When I go, my granddaughters, I go with them for apple picking in their orchards. And those are dwarf density orchards, almost 10 times higher yield than what we are harvesting. Mangoes are all old. We are not rejuvenating even them. And mango also, the high density planting technology came from Pantnagar, but we have not, in fact, taken much aggressive way, because I am a horticulture farmer. After I retired, I said, what should I do on my land which I inherited? And I think some of those Malhotra knows, and Dr. M.L. Jat knows. They have visited and seen. I didn't have water, enough water. So water had to be brought from 4 kilometers, and from almost 4
kilometers.
at a very high cost, at 4 feet deep in the soil, and then could think of having this. But the concerns of the farmer I will like to bring to your notice. Planting material is the biggest problem. Accredited nurseries is a need of the hour.
Yes.
Training youth to go in for extension in horticulture is required. Then when you have planted, then you require their care, so nutrition, fertigation. Farmer doesn't have that knowledge. The drip irrigation started with drip, and my worker on the farm found that drip irrigation was not helpful, because you have to interculture also, or you have to keep the land clean. So conservation agriculture is not thought of in horticulture. So you have to remove every time, then have the harrowing done, and then again put. We thought it is a headache, so we started flooding. And once you start flooding, then you cannot go back to. So the point what I am likely to say, and then after the production starts coming, you do not know how to sell and how to link with the market. So these are issues which are required to be looked at more, and then everyone cannot also have capability of post-harvest technology, and then you have experiences which fruit does better, as was said by Dr. M.L., and for which particular soil and area. So these issues need to be also looked, and we need to understand. And there are successes with farmers, enormous successes with farmers. So those successes also should be understood, and we must try to uh, see that wherever we are working again, you know, in silos, or I call it individual institutional empire. We try to work with others, and our major problem in the system and at the national level is of coordination and convergence. We can do a lot, but we need to change our mindset for it, and that is a challenge by itself. And genetic resource conservation, I feel that we don't have explored the kind of genetic variability we have, though we have in our National Gene Bank out of 4.5 lakhs. I thought when we built the Gene Bank, kept the capacity for 1 million, that probably in 20 years we will be reaching 1 million. But that time we had only, say, 2 lakhs of collections in our gene bank. It has come now to something like 4.5. Out of it, the collection from horticulture is 1.5. And for many crops we have just not collected, and many crops are not now even available. I can go on that subject because that is my most favorite subject
Area.
and will take long time. But what is needed is, I was in Central Asia, enormous variability for the say dry fruits, for fruits, melon, and for vegetables, spices. And we can do a lot. For pomegranate, I had to go to Iran and took Dr. Parikh with me. So I said, I will do the talk with the minister, and took his permission to let Dr. Parikh go and visit the perennial pomegranate area and collect and bring it to India. I think we would require a missionary approach in terms of visiting, collecting at our own cost. Nobody is going to just give you. And that effort is needed. I was happy to hear yesterday from Dr. S.K. Singh that we are doing reasonably well in avocado. We introduced kiwi fruit when I was director NBPGR. Now kiwi fruit is in the market, and kiwi has found a niche because due to climate change, the elevation for apple has gone up. So elevation, growing apple to the higher elevation, so the mid elevation found a niche, and that is an area where kiwi could be grown, and farmers seem to be happy. It's in the market, it's quite a valuable crop. Avocado, 1,000 rupees a kilo in Gurgaon where I live. But people are buying, and now I'm told it is being produced in India, which is a good thing. But many things are being imported. As against our apple, people try to buy all foreign imported apple. That also is a challenge to be seen, that we should have good varieties and variability in those varieties than with what we started. And let me close by just saying that kindly do organize with, perhaps there is already some initiative on International Horticulture Congress. We should have an International Horticulture Congress hosted by academia, and plan it in a bigger way, so that all our youngsters can get benefited by those experts who come here. And that can be possible. We have to ensure networking, not within India, but abroad. And I am happy we have with us today from Malaysia, Mr. Salim Muhammad Ali. Welcome, Salimji. And we also have from Texas, Dr. Bhumi Patil. So welcome to you. In fact, we are talking of corporatization of institutions today for resource generation and for excess benefit sharing. And example of Mardi in Malaysia should be understood. Like in case of Brazil, Embrapa, those institutions are all working directly with the private sector and sharing the benefits. And the product is being sold like ICR, and if it is MICO for any product, like blueberry, MICO is now producing, and high density apple also they are bringing in big way. So we must try to provide this opportunity, technology park or incubator on our institution side, and forget about, change our mindset that if you are collaborating with private sector, something is wrong. They have to be embraced. And then only, because once you reward something to reach it to the end user, it is not the ball game of the scientist. So there we have to make sure, even to apply for IPR is also very costly and time consuming. So this networking and partnership is one part, and especially with the private sector. And I also would like to recognize Manmohan Atawar, who started protected cultivation. But then we gave boost under NATP for protected cultivation. And Dr. Prabhat Kumar may be knowing, the area after 2 decades under protected cultivation is not even 1 million hectares. It was around 50,000 about 10 years ago. I am told it is now about 80,000 hectares or so. And in China, it used to be a decade ago 2.5 million hectare area, and now it is 4.5 million hectare. Bhai, hum kahan hain? And when we will have this much coverage? How much time it will take? If we do not become aggressive in our approach, and youth wants to get involved in agriculture, but not in traditional system, but specialty and secondary agriculture, by which they can earn more, and for that the technology has to be provided to them. And I think that there is enormous scope, and there is great future, and academy of this kind must get further strengthened. And again, while concluding, I am so pleased that Dr. Chadha started this academy. He discussed with me when he started it. Earlier it was a society. Then he talked to me that should it be there. I said sure, and before it is too late, you better start yourself. And now that it is here, we need to nurture this academy and see that young people get encouraged and participate more and more and get benefited, and take this sector to newer heights for contributing to the national not only food but nutrition security. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. After getting an opportunity to hear your address, all I can say is your presence has truly elevated this occasion, filling it with the inspiration and purpose as we embark on the next chapters of Indian Horticulture Congress. Thank you so much, sir, for gracing this occasion as chief guest and making this event truly meaningful.